Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Baldwin number 0465-050. This is an edge pull from Baldwin in the 050 finish, which is satin, brass, and black, which, we just call antique brass. 050 would be the equivalent of 609 finish, or US 5 is what this would be. Okay. Baldwin has a very comprehensive offering of finishes that are not unique to them, and they have others that are somewhat unique to them. What would be an example of that? They're aged brass, they're 038, may not be something you could match identically from other people, but this is typical US 5 or 609 or 050. So what is an edge pull? An edge pull, very elegantly, is a piece of hardware that is several decades old. I don't recall seeing it in a catalog that's over a century old, but I bet it is. This is a piece of hardware that has existed basically unchanged for the entire 20th century. I'm quite sure of it. What this device does is allow you to pull a door out of a pocket, basically. There's two types of pocket doors. There's the original, there's the residential style pocket door that we all think of when someone says pocket door. It slides into the wall, slides into the pocket, okay? It's over here in the edge of my finger here that the edge pull gets applied so that you can pull the door out of the pocket. The other type of pocket door doesn't, the other type of pocket door is simply a door that has specialty construction in the wall or the hinge, so that when the door opens up, it opens up to 90 degree and is then flush completely with the wall. Okay, it will then open into a pocket in a wall at a 90 degree orientation. It's a swinging door. You'll see that application in hospitals all the time because they want to open those doors up, get them out of the way of the corridor so that the movement of wheelchairs, etc., can happen in an unobstructed sort of fashion. A hinge, if you wanted to investigate that, a term that you would look for is not only pocket hinge but Harmon hinge, Harmon, Harmon hinge. That's an aside to what this is. A very typical piece of equipment, very easy to install. I've mortised for these 6,000 times. It has, and there is, a link below this video to the template, but first, let's go over the extended description. Packed with wood screws, it indeed is, probably maybe a number 6, maybe a 5. They don't tell us. The best friend of the carpenter is his router and a caliper. What size is the screw? I don't know. They don't tell us in the description, but I can put my caliper on the root of that screw and then determine a nice pre-fit size. Whether it's softwood or hardwood, I will adjust the percentage of the root diameter. Hardwoods are going to be a little bit of a larger hole than a softwood. I was initially taught that you would pre-drill the root diameter of the screw, or the body of the screw. I think that's actually possibly a little bit too large, but only marginally too large. Is that accurate? Okay, so the caliper will allow you to get to a really good pre-fit size. What I also like about having a caliper is you can get more particular, more precise and accurate with how you're prepping material. You'll have more accurate control over your setting of your template, and also using a numbered drill bit rather than a fractional drill bit size would really be the way to go as well. The dimensional properties, let's just use the tape measure for this. They say that it's 3 7/8 overall height, which indeed it is. 3/4 wide, correct. They have a 1 5/8. That's going to be an overall dimension from the faceplate. A little bit larger than that, as you can see, closer to 1 13/16. The finger comes underneath this recessed area that will allow you to get your hand in here and then pull the door out, is how that works. Specially designed spring-loaded edge pull returns the lever flush with the faceplate. That indeed does. There's a small spring inside of there that you can see. Narrow design eliminates installation problems on thin door conditions. Sure, 1 3/8. You could certainly put this down to a thinner door if you had a pocket application that would actually take a thinner door. Intended for use on pocket door applications. It's not used in swinging applications. Not that you couldn't mortise this to the face of the door, except that, you're certainly going to run into trouble with the thickness of that, with this being thicker than an 1 3/4 thick door. So you might want to really consider where you're going to use it. If you're doing a swinging door, you wouldn't use an edge pull. Not that you couldn't if the door thickness was right. There would be other pieces of hardware that would be edge pulls appropriate for a swinging door that would usually mount to the edge of the door and have a little knife edge that comes out that you can lift and pull out. I suppose if you had a thicker than 1 3/4 thick door, have at it. You can make that work. One hallmark that I like of manufacturers who seem to understand the job of the fine carpenter is, well, this is not an example of it, but sometimes you're going to see a slight relief on the edge of the material so that when you mortise the material, you'll have an incredibly tight hairline margin around the perimeter of the edge pull. Okay, this appears to be square on the edge, even though it's probably just got something to do with the machining of the product, because you can see that it doesn't appear to be square edged when I hold it right there. But that, I would like that to be slightly more pronounced, that I have a slight reveal or bevel maybe on the hardware to get a really tight fit. When you are mortising this, you need to have a very clean pocket to put it into. When you fit that in, it has to be mortised and cleaned out completely with your very sharp chisel. You don't want to get that pushed into something that's a little too tight, and as you pull it out, you run the risk of grabbing some of the edge veneer and flaking that out. You don't want to do that. So you have to find a balance of how tight you're going to mortise that. Speaking of mortising it, there is a link below this video to the template, and that will give us all of the important dimensional properties of the item. Their template says that this is 1 11/16. Well, just heavy on that. Overall height, I'm showing a little bit greater than 1 3/4. So on the left-hand side, they're literally showing what your mortise needs to look like. Okay, and basically, mortising it the way they call out is the way that they call it out. There would be no ultimate foul. There would be no flag on the play if you took that 1 3/4 wide mortise and prepped it basically from immediately under the area for the screw all the way down to the bottom of the dimpled area. What they're saying is, give me an 1 3/4 deep prep that is 1 11/16 overall height to account for this area. Then give me another preparation that would be 3/4 inch diameter. That would be 7/16 deep. Okay, so that's what they want you to do there. I would do it the way they showed, and I would do it the way they showed rather than make it easier on yourself, is because there's no need to cut out such a large hole. The drilling of that 3/4 inch hole could easily be done with a Forstner bit. That will give you a really nice clean flat bottom, 7/16 deep. That's really where the caliper comes in, so you know how far you're drilling. And then your body preparation for basically the accommodating of the lever trim or the return of the edge pull is what you're accommodating. So this prep is going to be 1 3/4 deep. It's going to be 1 11/16 overall height, it's going to be 11/16 overall width. Okay, I'm coming up with the 1-inch center to center on the two holes that are 11/16, so 1 plus 11/16. That's the overall height. Then you know off of the top of the unit 2 and 3/32 from the top to that first hole. Then 1-inch centers. Okay. I would use a router for all of that. I wouldn't worry about it being a radiused corner at the top and bottom. Meaning I wouldn't worry about the radius being other than 11/16. The radius being 11/16 divided by 2, some dimension in 30 seconds. Then at the very end, after I've got that body prep and then the preparation up here for this assembly, I would then do my plate preparation. 1/8 of an inch, 3/4, 3 7/8. And certainly the caliper is really great for, okay, they want an 1/8 of an inch mortise. Well, how thick is the equipment? Well, my caliper is telling me it's 0.133, so it's more than an 1/8. Is it significantly more? Absolutely not. Nor is it consistent. But the fact of the matter is the caliper is really great to help you figure that out. I like to do that plate prep, the 1/8 by 3/4 by 3 7/8 last. I want to do all my deep work first so that I don't run the risk of nicking the door. If I do my plate last, any sort of unintentional contact with the router, I can go back and hopefully clean that out. If you're going to do this with a hammer and chisel, there you go. You could certainly do that with a couple of 11/16 fly bits, a 3/4 inch fly bit, hammer and chisel to make that all happen. Not going to be a big deal. I just, it's not my preferred way of doing it because I'm more skilled by setting up a router and a template. Recognizing that a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's more work on the front end." Sure, it is, but this client has 9 of them to do. So, let's race. I'll set up my template. It'll take me 20 minutes on the first one or 40 minutes on the first one, but after that, I'm 4 minutes each. So, if you had one to do, sure. I'm not going to go out and buy a tool for one. I'm just going to get a new chisel or sharpen my chisel. So, anyway, there you go. That's my 2 cents. I don't make a living as a finished carpenter. I happen to just have a lot of experience having done it and realize my opinion is very likely the minority of opinions on people who make a living doing it. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Baldwin products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. And several full product catalogs are listed there, derivatives of their product lines. Look for the one that has the word estate in it. That's generally the full catalog. Baldwin is a company that goes back several decades of manufacturing hardware. They are, for as much as they are a global company, they're manufacturing some of this in China. I don't know where all their products are sourced from, but they are a traditional hardware company in the sense that I've called Baldwin on multiple occasions, asked for technical support. Either the person on the phone could answer it or they sent me to someone who absolutely could answer it, and it's usually the former. One time I had a question on a spring from a lock body that was from the 1970s. The question was, any chance I can get my hand on one of these springs? What color, hold on. I spoke to they transferred me to a gentleman. Turns out he had been manufacturing those lock bodies in the late 1970s. He knew exactly what I had, knew exactly what it was. And that's the experience you have with Baldwin. You've got other people who do residential decorative hardware. Some people a lot less expensive. You've got boutique people who make things way beyond in terms of cost. Dollar for dollar, Baldwin can't be beat when you compare quality, cost, and the support that you get. It's not uncommon for you to have something that has broken, and it is not uncommon for Baldwin to say to the end user, "What's your address? We'll just send you a replacement." That's not uncommon at all. So if you're going to invest in someone, invest into a company. If you're going to build a home and you're going to go with someone who's going to be noticeably less expensive because you're building a 4,000 square foot house, great. I don't have a lot of experience with success getting replacement parts for Baldwin lock sets, but with non-Baldwin lock sets. With Baldwin, yeah, okay, they discontinue series like everybody does, and then you can't find a latch bolt because they discontinued the Images series 10 years ago. Yeah, that happens to anyone. But, their high-end material, they've supported that. I don't think the construction of the Estates line has, my knowledge of Baldwin goes back just basically 30 years. That's not changed, and the quality hasn't degraded, and it's the brand that I would choose to use. Any questions on the 0465 Edge Pole or any other Baldwin product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.